Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Hello, good Saturday evening, folks. Thanks for tuning in on this long Thanksgiving weekend. I'm Dustin Klemann. We begin with court news. More than a year after the murder of a Lame Deer woman, a man is charged in federal court. 34-year-old Whitebird Limpy was arraigned this week in U.S. District Court in Billings on one count of second-degree murder. He's charged with the death of Julia Stump, whose body was found on U.S. Highway 212 on the Northern Cheyenne Indian Reservation. Court documents state Stump was killed in November 2016, but it's not clear how she died. Limpy was charged in tribal court in December, but took a year for federal charges to arise. Tonight he's being held at the Yellowstone County Jail without bond. Also tonight, a Lame Deer man is being held on a murder charge for a deadly beating on the Northern Cheyenne Indian Reservation in September. 23-year-old Derek Shoulderblade recently pleaded not guilty in U.S. District Court in Billings to the charge of second-degree murder. Shoulderblade denies he beat 30-year-old Ozzie Lee Wilson to death at a home on the reservation. Wilson was hospitalized and placed on life support before he succumbed to his injuries. A motive for the assault is unclear. Shoulderblade is in custody right now at the Yellowstone County Jail without bond. We go to international news. The Egyptian military attacked the hideouts of those they say carried out the deadliest terror attack in the country's history. Hundreds were killed during an ambush on a mosque on Friday. Mo Lange has more on tonight's developing story.
Egyptian fighter jets carried out multiple airstrikes Saturday on vehicles believed to be involved in the massacre at a mosque in northern Sinai. More than 300 people were killed, including children. Survivors say Islamic extremists took positions around the mosque's windows and doors and opened fire with rocket-propelled grenades as the imam was just about to deliver his sermon. The attackers blocked all escape routes. 13-year-old Abdullah Sleiman managed to get away. Everybody was climbing on top of each other, trying to get out of the mosque, he said. As I tried to get out, a bullet entered my leg. A day after the ambush, hospital hallways were still flooded with the injured. Grieving families claimed the bodies of their loved ones for burial. Militants have killed dozens of Christians in Cairo this year, but Egyptian officials say this is the first ever large-scale attack on a Muslim congregation. Worshippers there practice the Sufi branch of Islam, which ISIS has branded as blasphemous. So far, no one has claimed responsibility for this week's carnage. The president of Egypt has promised to respond with brutal force to those behind the attack. Mo Lange, CBS News, Washington.
Back here in the United States, chaos is brewing for the agency that has one of the biggest impacts on helping you safeguard your finances. So who will replace the outgoing director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau? Well, that depends on who you ask. Kim Hutcherson explains.
Dueling appointments are sparking confusion Saturday over who is leading the top U.S. consumer watchdog agency. At the stroke of midnight, Richard Cordray, the man heading the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, stepped down. Cordray, an Obama appointee, named his chief of staff, Leandra English, as his successor, which essentially makes her the acting director for now. However, President Trump also named his own interim chief Friday, White House Budget Director Mike Mulvaney. The appointments of two officials to the same post sets up a political clash. The question now, who is in charge when employees return to work Monday? Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, who helped create the CFPB, tweeted, "The Dodd-Frank Act is clear. If there's a CFPB director vacancy, the deputy director becomes acting director. Trump," she said, "can't override that." A senior White House official defended Trump's pick by citing another federal law, the Vacancies Reform Act, saying Mulvaney's appointment is a typical routine move. The president will ultimately nominate a permanent director who will need to be confirmed by the Senate. With a confirmation, the Trump administration will have a chance to overhaul the Bureau, which Republicans have said has too much power and not enough oversight. The CFPB was created after the 2008 financial crisis to protect consumers. I'm Kim Hutcherson reporting.
Also tonight, it looks like President Trump will not be on Time Magazine's Person of the Year for 2017. The president said on Twitter Friday that he turned down a potential offer to the title. In his tweet, Trump posted the magazine told him he would probably be given the honors, but he would have to do an interview and a photo shoot. He says he passed on the idea. The magazine refuted Trump's claims in a statement. It said President Trump was incorrect on how Time chooses its Person of the Year. They are correct on how they choose it, but they didn't comment on the choice until publication. The president was named Times Person of the Year in 2016 following his victory in the 2016 election. Also, President Trump could be on track to spend as much as triple the time former President Barack Obama did on the golf course in his first year in office, and play more than former President George W. Bush did in 8 years in office. Trump spent Saturday at the Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach, making the 81st day that the president has visited one of his golf courses and his 4th straight day at a club. A law enforcement source said Trump played with golf legend Jack Nicklaus, a longtime supporter of the president. It is unclear, however, whether Trump's golf days, each one he visits at a course, or how many rounds he does when he actually does play. White House aides rarely confirm that the president is golfing, but Trump did say so himself on Friday, announcing that he was playing with golfing stars Tiger Woods and Dustin Johnson. By comparison, Obama played 333 rounds of golf during his first 8 years of office, and at this point in his first year of his term had played 26 rounds. Trump's golf outings are notable only because he repeatedly mocked Obama for the time he spent on the golf course and said he wouldn't have time if he were elected. Switching gears and coming back to Billings, the Salvation Army Red Kettle campaign started all the way back in 1891 over in Oakland. Since 1997, the Red Kettle Kickoff has been part of the halftime in Dallas at the Cowboys' annual Thanksgiving Day game, and also today, the campaign started in Billings.
As the beginning of Salvation Army Red Kettle Kickoff, let the sound of hope ring out in Billings, Montana.
Mayor Tom Hanel reading a proclamation for the kickoff here in Magic City. Former Mayor Chuck Tooley and Mayor-elect Bill Cole also part of the festivities. Robin Hanel, the First Lady, put in the ceremonial first donation. An anonymous donor will match every dollar collected today up to $55,000. The Red Kettle campaign is the Salvation Army's biggest fundraiser here in Billings.
What they do for those that are less than fortunate in helping not only our military men and women but families for many years, not only providing them with the warmth and the food and the shelter, but what they do for each of our communities in a time of need is just remarkable. It just shows that much more support for the Salvation Army.
This has been a hand-in-hand effort between city government and Salvation Army for decades. It's important in their work to serve the needs of homeless people, of people who are in a bad point in their lives. This is a nice, convivial atmosphere.
An important part of the mayor's position is to let people know what's going on in their community and sing the praises of people like the Salvation Army who are doing so much for our community. There's nothing that sings Christmas more than the Salvation Army bells.
Wherever the needs are, we just, the Salvation Army is here to meet those needs that are struggling and help those to stabilize their lives.
Yellowstone County Commissioner Dennis Pittman and Clerk and Recorder Jeff Martin also attended. Red Kettles will be at 24 locations. You can find them throughout Yellowstone County. Still ahead on the Saturday edition of the Q2 530 News. Keep guzzling that coffee. More benefits showing up in hundreds of studies. On medical news next. Later in sports, MSUB puts their perfectly early season record on the line in Bozeman. We'll have highlights on the way. And in the Weather Center, Rob Griggs, just the perfect amount of coffee today, right, sir?
Yeah, in fact, I had more than my fair share, and it was delicious, delicious. And we have what very well could be a record high temp on the way for tomorrow. And right on the heels of that, another cold front. Of course, be sure to download that free Q2 Storm Tracker weather app, and we'll have that complete Q2 Storm Tracker forecast in just a little bit.
You're watching MTN News with Dustin Klemann. Storm Tracker weather with Rob Griggs. And sports with Casey Conlon. This is the 530 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.